Today's podcast, we are talking car trends.
The best read pieces on our website have been of Chinese brands.
You're kind of the bottom end of the premium range starts tapping into the top end of the Chinese market.
I'm not sure if the Chinese will be able to hold these prices for much longer.
I'm a little bit more excited than you are.
Welcome to WTF, WesBank Talks Finance, the podcast that turns WTF moments into knowledge that you can use to make informed financial decisions. Subscribe to get notifications when we release new episodes. Hi, and welcome to WesBank Talks Finance. Today's podcast, we are talking car trends. And I've got with me Colin Squair, who is the head of sales for WesBank. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Lebs.
All good. And then joined by Lerato Matebese, who is the publishing editor for Top Gear South Africa. Welcome, Lerato.
Thanks so much, Lebza. It's good
All
to be here.
good. Awesome. Thanks for joining, gents. We are talking car trends, for 2024 specifically in comparison to 2023. So what are those trends? What has the landscape been like? What does it look like? What are consumers into? What is exciting? What are the things that are keeping the pulse of the industry going in as far as purchases, new cars, and so on and so forth? I think we should start with you, Lerato.
Yeah, sure, Lebza. I think from our perspective, at least from Top Gear, we are seeing obviously SUVs and crossovers still becoming the most popular sort of market space where people want crossovers, SUVs, that feeling of being sitting a little bit higher up, that sense of safety that comes with that. So we're seeing more and more of sort of those entrants coming into the market.
Interesting.
And then connectivity is a big thing as well with vehicles. People want to stay and remain connected no matter where they are.
Okay.
So if people are still on the road, they still want to do what they would do in the office, be able to, have meetings and that sort of thing. So we are seeing that sort of trend. People still want to be connected to...
So connectivity is a key feature.
Absolutely, without a doubt, yeah.
Oh, good. Colin, do you want to maybe just weigh in there? How is that looking on your end?
Yeah, so you've also seen a growing trend towards automatic vehicles. So the last 10 years, probably from 40% to over 60%, which it's a big number. I was in Australia a while ago, and you can only get really automatics, and I think South Africa is going the same way now. Also, engines have got smaller, more fuel efficient. So I think consumers are looking for solutions to their budgets, which they're finding in cars that are more efficient. And then you're right with that SUV and crossover. I think in the last 10 years, crossovers increased more than 100%, SUVs 80%, and sedans are all but disappearing.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how different is this? You're obviously referring to 2024. How different is it to the year before in terms of 2023?
I think we're just seeing that graph just going up in terms of those SUVs and crossovers. And I envisage we will be seeing more of those coming through. Sedans, as it's been alluded, are a shrinking sort of segment unless you're playing in the premium space.
Okay.
And hatchbacks are still quite big in South Africa. In fact, the Polo Vivo is still the best-selling passenger car in South Africa. So the B segment I think it occupies about 40% of market share. So there's still quite a big push there. But we are seeing some trends where some Koreans like Kia is not going to bring the Rio anymore because of switching from, or rather not building right and drive. So it's a global sort of decision that they've made. But SUVs, crossovers, absolutely, we're going to see an avalanche happening in the next coming years. Yeah.
And EVs? I have to throw that one in there, in the mix.
Well, EVs, everyone has slowed down on their sort of big EV push.
Okay.
We've seen some German brands who are quite rushing towards this whole covering the EV space, having 70 to 90% of their vehicle park being EVs or hybrids. But we're seeing a lot of people, or rather manufacturers, just going back on that because they've just noticed that it's great to have all these cars, but the infrastructure is just not growing exponentially to meet the demand.
With anticipated
Yeah,
rate,
exactly. So we are seeing that slow down, and as we know in South Africa, EVs are just way more expensive. We've got volume tax, and then we've got what we call the luxury tax, which is 11% that's slapped on all EVs. So yeah, it's
interesting times.
It really is interesting times. So yes, EVs will come in. I reckon we'll see 30%.
Okay.
EVs penetration in South Africa, but hybrids.
Over which period?
Hybrids.
Okay, hybrids.
Yeah, I think the biggest growth is going to be in hybrids.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, why do you say hybrids specifically? Is there any marker that says hybrids specifically?
So we've already seen, if you look at EVs in total, the biggest growth is already in hybrids. I mean, Toyota's got hybrids out, Haval's got hybrids out, and that's the take up is good, and it's because it's fuel efficiency. It's not you don't need a massive infrastructure to keep the hybrid growing, and you're getting good cost savings on the fuel.
And I suppose, I mean, for the peace of mind, it's sort of like a blend between what we know and what we're kind of like trying to get into, right?
Precisely. South Africans are not big on big change. So yeah, hybrids are kind of like the easy go-to, where I don't have to really worry about this. Some of them are self-charging. Okay. We do have plug-in hybrids coming in. But I think the big thing is we do still travel quite longer distance between either work and home and that sort of thing. So for South Africans, range anxiety is a big thing. So yeah, hybrids are a nice bridging gap for that.
You mentioned something quite interesting there earlier in terms of the Kia Rio. That globally they've taken a decision to stop manufacturing the right hand, which impacts the South African market. Any other brands, coming in and out of South Africa?
Nissan has taken also a decision to stop building the NP200. There's a big now gaping hole in that segment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other brands, Colin, go in the same direction?
Yeah, so Nissan also lost Qashqai. We spoke about the Kia Rio, Mazda BT50.
Sure.
So there's been a few that have left this year. But one trend we've probably not spoken about that we should speak about is the drop in the premium segment over the last year. That's also been a material.
Sure. Let's chat about that. Yeah, I mean, what does that mean? Why is it happening? Is it a subset of where the economy is, or is it a subset of options that consumers are having?
I think it is largely the economy. It's also vehicle price inflation in that segment that's pushed particularly high.
Sure.
And then also options. So on our side, we're seeing a move from the premium segment into used vehicles. So we're seeing an increase. Guys are buying down into used, and then we're going to speak about the Chinese later, but also into some of the Chinese brands where they've got full feature options.
So they offer everything that these luxury cars are offering.
Yeah, so definitely you're kind of the bottom end of the premium range starts tapping into the top end of the Chinese market. Okay,
and what are you seeing at Top Gear in terms of these Chinese brands, Lerato?
Well, from a content perspective, just to give you an idea, the best read pieces on our website have been of Chinese brands.
Sure.
By a big margin.
So that's an indicator we are interested in
Absolutely. The trends. And I mean, I get correspondence from readers as well in terms of vehicle advice. They're looking at a Chinese whatever. What do I think of it? Are there any pitfalls or the sort of thing? But we've definitely seen, the inquiries chalk up in terms of interest in Chinese products.
So, and how is it looking? Well, how the Chinese brands? How is it looking in the market overall from a trends point of view?
Yeah. So if you have a look at 2013, if you exclude commercial vehicles, I think about 1.3% of the NAMSA figure was made up of Chinese. By 2023, that had increased to about 8.8,
sure.
And 2024 it's going north of 10.9. So it's been a material increase over time. And we're seeing, if we look at it from a WesBank point of view, we're sitting probably 25% of our new cars are Chinese, or
sure.
About 18% of our applications now.
And in terms of features for South African consumer, what are the things that we kind of like? What do we go for? Is it the safety? Earlier on, Colin, you spoke about the fact that there's a dial down on luxury vehicles. Is that no longer a thing, maybe? I don't know. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so I think consumers will look for safety features before premium features, and those Chinese cars are jam-packed with that, so reverse cameras, park assist, lane assist, all of that stuff. So they are, so there's a lot of safety features that come standard in those cars. But then on top of that, you get the luxury features. So a lot of the features in more affordable cars now are very much what you get in the premium brands.
So all these nice fancy features, or what used to be fancy features, like power steering. I always make a joke with power steering that if your car doesn't have power steering now,
forget about it. But screens are a big thing now. If your vehicle doesn't have a touch screen or a big screen where it's an infotainment or whatever, it's considered not cool enough in South Africa. So the more screens, seemingly, that's what people are looking for.
But I think customers are really looking for value, and they're finding that value in the Chinese brands. There's just a lot on offer. If you do side by side comparisons between a Chinese model and a traditional model, you will see you're paying less for more.
Sure. And Lerato, do you anticipate that this trend will it last for long? Is it sustainable? Is it something that will change as the economy changes?
Well, I think it's great for the Chinese brands at the moment. We're seeing quite a lot of value propositions. There's more Chinese brands coming in. In fact, they're anticipating the next 18 months we'll probably see maybe 10 to 12 new brands that have never been in South Africa before coming from the Chinese market. I think it's great for the consumer, but I think at some point things will get saturated. And I'm not sure if the Chinese will be able to hold these prices for much longer. We've seen this with the Koreans before, where it was value for money, and then
the Japanese before.
Absolutely. So
we've seen this movie before.
Indeed. So we will definitely see. I'll say the next 3-4 years things should carry on as they are. But like everything else, I envisage. Prices will start chalking up.
And you want to add on to that, Cole?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem though is you bring in another 14 brands. The market is not changing. We still got selling 500,000 cars a year. It's not getting bigger. And I think another problem is the dealerships, in order to keep viable, have split their showrooms, and they've put Chinese one side, traditional the other side, and they've run out of space. There is no more space in the dealer network to add more brands. Yeah. And I don't think anyone's going to be prepared to invest in an unknown and build new buildings. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, with these Chinese brands coming in, are there factories being built in South Africa? Does it go that way in as far as SA 101 is concerned in creating employment? Are there talks? You speak about 8 to 10 brands coming in next year. Are there talks of improving that facility here so that we import less? I don't know.
There are talks going, but we don't have that many sort of Chinese brands setting up factories here. Okay. I think there's only one so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Bike is set up, and I think they will also start producing Photon here.
Yeah,
interesting.
Mahindra have got a factory in KZN. Yeah. So there are a few.
Yeah.
So there's traction.
There is traction, but we will definitely need more investment from the Chinese manufacturers, just so that it's viable. Because we can't just keep importing cars. People need to be employed, and obviously the industry needs to be sustainable.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, what do you foresee for the South African consumer for 2025? How is the market looking like, in as far as everything that we've been talking about?
I still reckon the next 6 months, we'll still have to tighten our belts a little bit. People are still counting their pennies and looking what they're spending on. And cars are a very big investment, so I assume pre-owned vehicles will still kind of lead the charge there. But people are definitely looking for value propositions.
Okay, and the picture for you?
I'm a little bit more excited than you are.
That's a good thing.
That's great.
No, so I mean, if you look at what's happening towards the end of 2024, you've seen F&B consumer confidence indicators increasing. So yeah, and if you look at through 2024, customers were cancelling deals at the last minute. So there is a lot of pent up demand, I think, in the industry, and with inflation dropping, with consumer confidence increasing, I think I'm a little bit more excited for 2025 than I was 2024.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's a positive one.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, gents. Exciting. Looking forward to what the car industry has in the market for the consumer. Well, there you have it. Car trends for 2024 and some excitement for 2025. It is quite clear in everything that has been said that the consumer is looking for value for money, so stretching the buck. There's a lot of options available, especially from the Asian markets, because they have up to the ante, which is a good thing for all of us. And I do hope that you did find this insightful. It would be interesting to hear what your views are. So please share your views and your thoughts by commenting in terms of your predictions for 2025. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening. We hope that you found it useful. Now go and subscribe to be notified when our next informative episode is available.